So, this is the story of how I am connected with the Archie comic books. Follow this, it's a little bit of a story. So, first of all, as a comic book, Archie Comics predates 1950. Keep that in mind. Predates 1950. In the 1950s, one of the forms of entertainment that was still quite popular was radio drama. A lot of programs were on radio and still much more popular than television, which was still in its infancy and expensive to buy the TV sets and such. Anyway, and it worked well for children's programming as well. Children would gather around a radio and listen to the programming. So there was a radio program based on the Archie comic book series called The Adventures of Archie Andrews. Archie was played by a guy named Bob Hastings. And if you look him up, he was a brilliant, funny character actor, appeared in a lot of things. He went on to do a lot of roles in television. You can look him up. Jughead was played by a guy named Harold, or he went by Hal Stone. So Harold Hal Stone played Jughead. Betty was played by an actress named Rosemary Rice. Rosemary Rice, if you look up her credentials, all over the place. She was very big in early television. And of course on radio as well. And so, what does that have to do with me? I was born in 1964, so all of this predates me. I never listened to this on the radio myself. But if we go forward several years, a particular history professor named Gary A. Yagi was a huge fan of old-time radio and television. In fact, Gary wrote a book called Riding the Video Range, The Rise and Fall of the Western on Television. And he really did love Westerns a lot, but he loved all types of old-time radio drama. And Gary would tour around to many different cities where recreations of old-time radio shows were going on. And he became very well known. He started directing shows, and he brought the art form to Elmira, New York, and Elmira Little Theater. And around 1990 or so, he did a recreation of the Orson Welles classic War of the Worlds, as it had been done on radio many years before. It was quite a big success, and they decided that they would start putting together golden age of radio shows year after year, and it got quite big. And in fact, they were able to bring many stars from radio and a few from television to Elmira to help with the recreations. Now, Gary happened to be an acquaintance of my father's. My father was a barber, cut hair, and Gary was a customer of his in the barber shop. And in discussing, my dad kind of caught the bug. And one year, probably, I'm going to say around 1998 or so, I attended one of these recreations, and I got hooked. And I said, I got to do this. Now, I will stop for a second and just say, this was not my first adventure into the theatrical world. I did do performances on stage in my high school career, here and there as an adult as well. And I do love performing in front of a crowd when I get the chance. over the course of about 10, 11 years, I had great enjoyment doing recreations of these old time radio shows. And as I indicated just a second ago, the show in Elmira got really big, and we were able to bring in a lot of actors.
There was a very, very wonderful guy. His name was Arthur Anderson. And one of the things of note for him, he was the original voice of the Lucky Charms leprechaun. So he would be the one who said, "They're always after me Lucky Charms." And that's not a great imitation. I could do better with some practice, but that's Arthur Anderson. I got to work with him doing recreations of a show called Fibber McGee and Molly. And anyway, over the span of 2 or 3 years, we actually did a couple of different adventures of Archie Andrews. One of the times, Bob Hastings came in with Rosemary Rice, and they recreated their roles as Betty and Archie. And in that year, I got to play the part of Jughead. So I got to play Jughead when Bob Hastings, the actual Archie Andrews from radio, was in Elmira. I played Jughead. Then another time, Hal Stone came, recreated the part of Jughead, and yes, indeed, I got to play Archie when Hal Stone was Jughead.
So, you may ask, can I still do these voices? Well, I'm willing to give it a shot here. Bob Hastings was older than a teenager when he played Archie, but he had a very youthful voice, and it was pretty distinctive. He had a couple of different things that really made Archie Archie. But like, for instance, especially if he wasn't stressed and he wanted something, he'd be like, "Hey, Dad, could I get some money? I want to go to the movies with Betty today. Is that okay?" So that would be Archie. Just kind of tone down, try to remove the bass from your voice, and just sound like a young person. The other thing that was very, very famous for Archie was he had a little giggle. Veronica would come by, and in a whispery southern drawl, "Good day, Archie," which of course just made Archie flutter, and he would respond with something very close to that. I'll work on it. In case you're wondering what Jughead had sounded like, here's me giving a very familiar Jughead line that he gave to Archie all the time. "Oh, relax, Archie. Relax."
It's a great fond memory of mine. The actress who played Veronica, I believe, had passed away before I got involved, so I never met the actress who played Veronica, but I did meet Rosemary Rice, Bob Hastings, and Hal Stone. So that's my connection to Archie Andrews comics as they were portrayed on radio as the Adventures of Archie Andrews.